So today's guest on Kundalini Yoga podcast is Andrey Lappa, a long-time student of many teachers in the Krishnamacharya tradition, and I think for many years now, he's come up with his own style of yoga called Universal Yoga. So it's been a pleasure to talk to Andrey a little bit so far, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you more today, Andrey. Welcome.
Hello to all auditorium.
So, just to familiarize listeners, readers with our subject today, Andrey, do you want to just say a little bit about your background, how you got into yoga in the first place? Because I believe you grew up in Ukraine, is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Ukraine, and Ukraine was part of Soviet Union before Gorbachev liberated Ukraine. And at that time, borders of Soviet Union were closed. That's why I was practicing yoga, interested in yoga, but I didn't have right to travel outside of country. That's why before I went first time to India, I already read about 150 books about yoga. That's why I had very wide imagination about different teachers, different places. And actually, because before they opened borders, I already developed quite strong practical yoga practice. Like all book of Iyengar, I learned to do myself to the very end of that book. At the same time, I was teaching successfully. And when Ukraine became separate country, India opened Indian embassy in Ukraine. And I was invited 6 times during 2 years with my students to visit special events of Indian embassy to demonstrate yoga. And Indian people, they can recognize high level. And we demonstrated quite advanced practice. And after 2 years of such demonstration, the ambassador of India made proposal for me that he will pay for my air ticket, for my hotels, and he will give me special visa gratis, which means I'm guest of India, guest of country, and he will send me to any yoga teacher where I want to go to study. At that time, I didn't read any book about Patabi Jois because Patabi Jois didn't read any book at that time himself, but I was familiar with Book of Iyengar and I was interested in that. At that time, it was one of the best books about yoga. That's why I asked Ambassador of India to send me to Iyengar, and he sent me to study with him for free, and it was like program of exchange of students between Ukraine and India. So I got everything for free. When I came to Iyengar, I had with me letter government of India is asking Iyengar to teach me personally for free, and in this way I passed whole program during 2 months each. It is like equivalent of, at the time he didn't run teachers training, but it was like equivalent of teacher training, which was done during 2 months, and I repeated this 4 times during 4 years. But because I had a lot of time after that, my visa was not limited. I took with me all money I had, and I wanted to visit all teachers about whom I read in the books which I read before. Which I heard about the teachers before from the books which I read. So I decided after Iyengar to go to visit that places to make like observation with whom I want to study. And while I was studying with Iyengar and Pattabhi, I met in my hotel 2 guys from Australia who were students of Iyengar, but they also told me about Patabi Jois and they recommended me to go to him. And I heard about Patabi Jois from them first. So after Iyengar, I went directly to my tour. And I started like 1 month with Patabi Jois at the time. But I still had planned to visit other teachers which I known. And in my first trip to India, I was half year in India. I visited 72 different yoga schools and ashrams and their places on the north, on the south, on the east, on the west, on the middle, everywhere about whom I heard. I wanted to meet personally to decide with whom I want to study. And after that, I was already purposefully going to India to particular institute with whom I want to study, not with all of them. And from that time, I was in India with purpose of study for Dubai. But I also expand my places where I started studying. I also studied in Himalayas and Nepal. And in Nepal, I worked more than 40 times. 40 I took to calculate.
40 times?
Yes, I'm not interested in Western world. I'm totally interested in Asia and Eastern world. I have nothing to do with Western content. So basically, when I was traveling 42 times to India, I was just like, I need money. That's why I was studying 2-3 months. Then I returned to Ukraine, teach 2-3 months, make some money, and go to India. Again, 2-3 months in India, again return to Ukraine, work 2-3 months, and again, and like this non-stop for many, many years.
Yeah. And you missed out that part, which I always found interesting about your background in engineering. I remember hearing that on another podcast, that you trained as an engineer. And I see a very clear kind of way that you explain the yoga through this kind of background. You have an academic background because you have a high level of education there before the yoga training. And I believe you said your parents weren't that happy when you decided to be a yoga teacher, right?
Not before the yoga training. Actually, I started yoga at the age 13, and I started teach yoga at the age 19. Right. And I graduated university, and after that, I was working on PhD, and at 26, I finished my PhD, and after half year, I finished my PhD. This proposition from Ambassador of India. So I was an ethics engineer. I never wanted to be engineer, but it was for me just a way to escape from war in Afghanistan, because of Soviet Union, 100% of guys who reach age 18 must go to army. And from my city, from Kiev, 95% of people, they sent to Afghanistan. My best friend who went 1 year before me to Afghanistan was very badly killed in Afghanistan. Like they cut his nose, ears, eyes, cut pulled him from his body and nailed him to the cross and drag him on the cross on the sun. This is how he passed away. So my father just pushed me to say that there is a way for you, don't go to Afghanistan, and the city will become intelligent for army. So I am not military, but I went to study as an engineer for military. For me, it was just a way, don't be killed. And it was my father insisted to do this. I never wanted this. So, but when Ambassador of India proposed me to go to India to study, I realized, well, I already finished. I don't owe to the government anything for my education, because to work as engineer after university was in Soviet Union, we get education for free, but then government asking you to work for 3 years in any place they need you. But I decided not just work as engineer, I decided to PhD, but it took for me 4 years. Half year after that, I said, what proposal, go to study yoga, and I didn't have any obligations with government anymore. So my father told me, you're crazy. Who you will be after that? The yoga teacher? It's like advanced education, 10 years, and now you will be yoga teacher? And I said, father, I don't know what is waiting for me, but I never wanted to be engineer, especially I don't like army. So that's why I don't want to work for army, and I don't know what is waiting for me. I work for that. And that changed my life. From that time, I feel myself happy all my life, doing what I love.
Yeah. I wanted you to tell that story because it kind of gives some context or background to how you, the context of how you.
I want to tell you that at the age 16, I was a national team of water swimming of Ukraine, and at the age 16, I became master sport, and at the age 21, I became absolute gold champion of Ukraine in water sport, and because of my background is water sport, I don't understand why to practice without result, because now there are many types of yoga where people practice they don't know what, and they get no result. They just wasting time and money. So I never worked for this kind of wasting of the time and money. So I always, if I spend time for practice, if I teach my students, I want them to get results.
Yeah. I do remember you saying that about the background in sports as well in another podcast. So what about Iyengar then? How did you find Iyengar? Did you get results? What did you feel about his training? How do you incorporate training?
His practices were super easy. When I started with him, he was combining lecture with practice, and he was explaining Samadhi, then he sent us to bring props, then we build up house to now map, then we do with that, house, made of props. Then finally we started to do Samadhi. He never let us any single time to do any asana more than 10 seconds, because out of 100 people in the group, of course somebody is doing some mistake, and it just screaming like, everybody here, it's just like, what happened, Guru, what happened? It's just like, there's doing mistake. I say, what, who cares? That the student of the mistake of and just why you call everybody? But he called everybody and he saw what mistake he is doing. That mistake not related to art, but then he just, you're not capable to do this asana. Another asana. And then he again explain another asana, then change props, and then again. So we never did per class more than 8 or maximum 10 or maybe 12 asanas per class. I felt it was absolutely not enough for me. Asana was super easy, and that's why every day I did my normal practice after that because I never had anything enough for my body. And plus, in his medical class, I believe he did super risky things. People after broken spine, he rolled their hand to the wall and then stayed back to the wall and then push with leg, torso of the person forward with deep back bend. After broken spine, I'm sorry, this is, for me, it was too risky. After injured knees, people bend their knees like in Siddhartha and keep them down, sitting on the top of them. In his medical class, people were screaming one by one. He come to somebody, the person screaming, he say, and then going to the next. So I didn't find it anyhow reasonable, and I just, when I understood what he's trying to teach me, I lost interest. I don't want to study it. So that's why after 4 years, I just left and never returned back. At the same time, I cannot say that I came quite a lot of
Okay. Like what kind of
things. I understood how to use prop. I learned from him alignment, and some of them I use by now. And to put it down, and I understand how he came to the point of the techniques because of he was caring about the safety. But I never interested to learn Iyengar yoga anymore in my life.
Mm-hmm. And then you went to Patabi Jois after that or during that time? And how did you find Patabi Jois then?
Yes, I was going to Patabi Jois from 94 to 98 every year. And what you just did podcast with Eddie Stern not a long time ago. This is where I met Eddie Stern and we became friends. And then I actually visited him in New York, and at that time we were friends with him. And that was understood just now. I understood that after 4 years of practicing with Patabi Jois. I just didn't speak about it loudly, but I understood because I started not with Patabi Jois only. I started in Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram with another yoga teacher called And Krishnamacharya was always teaching that practice must be individually adopted to every individual parameter of the body, to the different races of people of different countries, for the men and for women. And I didn't find any of this in Ashtanga Vinyasa as individual method. But when I started on Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram in Madras, they told every student individually this individual program for everybody. And I agree with this method. I understand that it is not right to give same order for everybody because people have very different background, very different bodies, different age, different sex, different race, different skeleton, different innate qualities from the birth. So it's simply from theoretically didn't link with me. And most of the reason why I didn't stay with Patabi Jois was because having good education, I wanted to understand his method. I wanted to understand his sequences. I wanted to know what he is teaching me. I'm not a person who is just trust and follow. I want to realize. And not only me, any people who ask him any questions, you always answer, do, and you will understand you. I was not satisfied with this answer because what if I will practice for 30, 40 years and then I will understand that method was not for me? It will be, I will lose my life. It's a big part of my life. That's why when I realized it doesn't really teach. In many classes, when I go to him, I pay a lot of money, but then I will be lucky if once per class he will come to me, so it's just one asana. So mainly I was practicing myself all the time. So, and he doesn't teach any theory. That's why I was not satisfied by all of it. That's why I just stopped to go to him, and I used my education. I still believe I practice Ashtanga Vinyasa now. But I believe that I practice Ashtanga Vinyasa awesome, but not on that sequences. I learned a lot in Maharaj myself Palace library. I understood that the sequences are not ancient. They are not old. In my presence, from 94 to 98, Patabi Jois, repeat sequence a few times. So the sequences are not ancient, they're not older than 1940s.
Yeah.
Because there are videos where Iyengar at 1938 is practicing with Krishnamacharya, and there are no Ashtanga Vinyasa sequences at that time. Iyengar is practicing Vinyasa yogas, but separate element that is not Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. It means the sequence for Iyengar, at least, and the guidance of Krishnamacharya didn't use himself. So that's why I research yoga so deeply. I understand all the principles, all the substance of practice, all about asanas, all about full Himalayan Vinyasa system. This is part of Ashtanga Vinyasa. It has 16 groups of Vinyasa, and every group of Vinyasa has many Vinyasas, but not all of them are represented by Ashtanga Vinyasa. So, on the basis of that, what I researched and what I know now, for me, Ashtanga Vinyasa now looks like old retro car, like Mercedes 1930s. It is still good car, it is still Mercedes, but it doesn't have computer, it doesn't have automatic uplift, it doesn't have individual systems you can regulate, it doesn't have so many features which modern parts have. So for me, this is Ashtanga Vinyasa. Plus, it is religion. It is not a science, it is religion. You have to be believer, you have to believe your teacher, shut up and do. It is not my method. I want to know what I do, so what I do. And that's what I know now about sequences. I can create any sequence for any individual need of any student. I believe this is absolutely progressive highest step in yoga development, and it must be. Unfortunately, not many people study with me. Now there are no literature, there are no books which are teaching you the theory of yoga. People keep to only standard sequences. But what is behind of that, how the sequences were created, nobody explained. So you will be always dependent on teachers who created this, but they don't teach you why they created it like this. You know? So that's why Patabi just told me, do and you will understand yourself. I did, and because I've had university education during 4 years, I understood a lot about what he teaches. Based on that, I went far up compared to that. I understood absolutely what he is doing. Absolutely. And I can do much more now. So, not physically, but methodologically, on the level of method, I can create any sequence for individual needs of anybody. Plus, it is only on the physical level, but if you practice traditional yoga, it should not be only for the first spell, for the physical. Because, can I tell now about universal yoga?
Yes, of course. I wanted you to get back into that. But also, I mean, just the context of how you started with this universal yoga, where you learned, because obviously you felt lacking in Iyengar's teaching and lacking in Pattabhi Jois's teaching, but then you did a lot in the Himalayas. So I think I'd like a little bit of background in terms of who else you studied with, even if people don't know the names, so people get an idea of the other teachers you bring into the...
I still believe that my main teachers fundamentally are Iyengar and Pattabhi Jois.
Oh, really?
But I didn't meet personally Krishnamacharya because by that time when I came to his mandiram, he passed away already. But there was Ramaswamy at that time and I studied with him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I learned yoga from different teachers who, if I will mention names, nobody knows them because people of level of Krishnamacharya had conducted education in India, and there are hundreds, thousands of people who have a level of Krishnamacharya in India. They just want to be humble, they practice for themselves, they don't want anybody to know them, they don't want to make money out of spreading this around the world. They focus on their own practice and their own result. So after what I learned about yoga, I understood that what yoga is. And it doesn't need second additional word because the word yoga in India has meaning. If you look at the good vocabularies in Sanskrit, you will find at least 800 translations of what yoga is. But there are 6 of them which are main. It's a unification, self-control, balance, harmony, to be in harmony with nature, and to have over normal power, fitness. So this is related to yoga. So what people practice now in many yoga schools, they don't announce it, and what they do doesn't lead to this goal. But every word has meanings. Night is night, cheer is cheer, and the meaning of these two objects are not interchangeable. You cannot use spear to cut bread. You cannot use knife to sit on it. Right? So every word has a meaning. So yoga had that meaning because it had academic education. I understand that if that is the meaning of the word yoga, what we practice not to lead to that exactly result. And if it doesn't lead to that result, it cannot be called yoga. That's why I was digging in India to understand which methodics of yoga are leading to the result of oneness. And it addresses to Patanjali and to the Tantric school with a recent state of consciousness like Samadhi. That is fundamental oneness. So if you don't teach that as a result of practice, you don't practice yoga essentially. You do it. So that's why I never met even in India any yoga teacher who is teaching asanas which are leading to Samadhi. Because nobody knows how to reach Samadhi out of asana Vinyasa practice. I spent my lifetime to develop this method, and now they are existing under the name Mandala Yoga. So mandalas are sequences which we create, which are using wide influence that our physical body, energetic body, psychic body, and mental body at the same time in one practice. And then it gives you Samadhi at the end of every practice. The Samadhi is not highest. It is considered to be, according to Patanjali, lowest Samadhi. Beginner Samadhi. But it is already good for beginning. Based on this, you will understand what is Samadhi, and you can use more advanced methods like Kundalini awakening, and that through tantric ecstatic Samadhi, you can get higher level of Samadhi.
So I suppose what people are going to be thinking now is, where did you find those practices? Yeah.
It's very hard to find because, so I just want to finish previous sentence. That's why I went through these practices to learn more advanced forms of yoga to reach highest Samadhi. And let me finish step by step. I have a lot of information to teach, but I will come to this point where I got it. But I want to tell you a little bit about name Universal Yoga. So I understood what is traditional yoga. And traditional yoga, from when it started, 6,000 years old book, are teaching that human consists of the cell, core, and fourth spell physical, second energetic, third psychic, fourth intellectual, fifth karmic. And I realized that practicing asanas Vinyasa, I don't move beyond of first spell. It is all physical. It is this physical sport, physical fitness, Indian fitness, Indian sport. But it doesn't make any influence at your other aspects. That's why I learned with other teachers this other aspect. And that's why when I was teaching this, I was teaching all of this under the name yoga. But when I came first time to teach to USA at 2000, studio owners wanted me to teach very much, but they said you must give second name. If you will not give second name, the students will not come because they don't understand. If you say only yoga, they don't understand what does it mean. You need to say this kind of yoga. And I didn't want, because I understand that every word has narrow specialization. It makes you teach narrow. So that's why they didn't agree in promotion of my program 2 months. They put me 2 months. After 2 months, I agree, okay. But I choose name which is most abstract, most universal. I choose Universal Yoga. Then universal from English, if you use Latin, it is universa. Versa is one version yoga, only one version yoga. There is no another version yoga. That is what I input. Second, universal is that what can be applicable for every individual practitioner. So if it's a full system of yoga, they can apply it in an individual way to every practitioner depending on the quality. So at that time, I understood yoga in Hindu way. I believe at that time that Hindu philosophy is telling us that yoga is about unity, personal Atma with Supreme Paramatman. That's why when I call universal, it reminds about the universe, about link with Supreme. So, and that was all I did in that name at that time. But later, when during the last 15 years, so many creative entertainment yoga was developed, I decided don't change this name. Now I can call it simply yoga, but I decided to call it still Universal Yoga because Universal Yoga is still yoga system based on all self. In Universal Yoga, there is a practice for every self. And this is contradiction to narrow specialized narrow yoga. We are working with single self. There's a still of meaning, which now additionally is there. So what is the essence of universal yoga? That you have full yoga system. This is traditional. I didn't change it. I teach traditional Indian yoga, but I use name universal to point that this is not Western crap. It is not narrow specialized. It is not fitness. It is not entertainment. It is traditional yoga for all self. Method for all self. This is what universal yoga is. Now,
how do you link asanas to other shells apart from the physical? I mean, I think two questions obviously come up. One,
okay.
Where does this come from? Because no one's heard of the use of asana.
But I don't want to miss your previous questions. So you told me what kind of ready defined Kundalini is. Yeah, that's very hard.
Yeah, and then how do you do that? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So in India, they strongly believe in caste system. That's why I don't want to sound as racist. So take my words as a joke. But many Indian people, they don't speak about it, but they think about us as about white monkeys. Because we are not part of their caste. They only give final knowledge to the people who are part of their caste, in particular their family. Look to whom every teacher passed their teaching. Iyengar to his daughter and he for her daughter. Patabi Joyce wanted to his son, then he passed to his grandson. And Krishnamacharya to his son, and then son to grandson. So, because it's all about family business. It's all about final knowledge. Only owners of that style must own. They will never tell you final knowledge. So, I started with different teachers in India, and I finally understood. They will never lead me to the final point, and they don't care that I'm a teacher. They don't care that I'm very honest. I really want to reach result, but for them, I am not part of their family. I am not even part of their country. Because of this, they will never teach you to the final point. They will give you plenty of religious aspect, but religion is not yoga, I'm sorry. Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga is religion. You don't know what you practice, but you believe strongly, and that's why you practice. It has only aspects of religion. It doesn't have any aspects of science. Understand? But I'm a scientific person. I want to know what I do. I want to be responsible in their lives. It just happened. Now looking back, I cannot find another explanation. During the times when Ukraine was still part of Soviet Union at that time, I was not able to travel to meet Indian teachers. But when I had age 18, I was practicing very advanced asanas, and because I was trimmer, my lungs had double side compared to my friends from my school. And when I did pranayamas, I got Kundalini awakening. And I've had very serious siddhis. I don't want to speak about them because I follow all rules. But with that siddhis, if in India somebody will see that siddhis, they already will put me on the very high chair and they will bow in front of me like this, in front of the high guru. So I had very, very serious siddhis out of the Kundalini awakening, without any teacher. It just started happening with me. It was within me like internal teacher.
Right.
And then already much later, when I got ability to travel, I was always interested about Kundalini, but I never met any people who were able to teach me even that what I reached myself. So nobody can lead me higher because they themselves know less than what I had from my practical experience. Then finally, when I went to Buddhist schools in Himalayas, they started giving me, in Buddhism, people don't care about caste. They give any teacher of any nationality. If you really want to study, they will teach you. And under Buddhist umbrella, they give me, they don't call it Kundalini, they call it Tummo. It was Tibetan name.
Yeah.
But under that name, basically they give me a method of Kundalini. And I repeated that what I started from young age, but also I went much further. And what was very useful for me that they had all steps of development structured, like very structure. So when I get it spontaneously myself, when I was young, I didn't understand structure. It just happened with me. But they gave me our academic step. Like from this you go to this, from this you go to this, from this you go to this. And then you have methodic that guarantee leads you to the final enlightenment. So based on this, because they also have a lot of religious attributes, I took all religious attributes out. I left only scientific methods which are working. I tested them myself that they are working without religious attributes. And I added them inside of universal yoga. There's pranayamas, chakra practice, Kundalini awakening practice, and ecstatic meditation as a result. Plus karma yoga for heat spell. So in this way, I spend my lifetime learning from different sources to set up modern version of yoga, following traditional and aspects from Upanishads, but to teach people scientifically, not based on religious belief, and give them results. I'm crazy about results. If I don't give results, money back. So I give results from all of them.
Give an example then, if you can, of how you use asana and pranayama differently to perhaps Ashtanga, for example, to get certain results. So you could be more specific about how.
Okay, now we come to your previous question. This you actually asked me. You asked exactly the same question. So
I'll just rephrase it again. Yeah.
Yeah, this is exactly what absolute majority of people in the world when they practice asana and vinyasa, they don't understand how to go from cell physical to go to energetic cell. So in India, there is a system of Marmas. It is part of Ayurveda. Marmas are actually points or zones on your body that there are three types of making influence of Marmas. With seeking them, with suiting active bomb, and with making massage of them. So what massage of them is related to practice of asanas, because when you practice asana, you compress some places of your body, or you stretch some places of your body. So with asanas, you can make influence at marmas of your body. But to make influence at all marmas of your body, you need to have stiffness for all directions of mobility of all joints. And these people don't know. Again, I learned this from medical book, plus I developed this myself a lot. And I set system of asanas for all directions of mobility of the body. I wanted to show proposals, but you say you cannot show because it's podcasts. But I can show you now already full table of asanas for all directions of mobilities of the human body. Nobody has it. Without that, you cannot make influence of all marmas. But if you have it, it is like piano with all keys. If you don't have all keys, you cannot play music. But now, if I have asana for all directions of mobility, I can build marmas. So if I create sequence, this is stimulation all marmas in both way, it has already influenced your second cell, your pranamaya. And then you get balance of sensation. And how is it related to Samadhi? For example, many people who read sutras of Patanjali, they try to practice based on sutras of Patanjali, but I'm sorry, you cannot practice on the base of Patanjali because sutras of Patanjali are like content of the book without chapters of the book. That's why they tell you what you must read, but they don't tell how. There is no method how to practice. That's why people think, I try, don't think, and I will get Samadhi. Never. You need to have traditional methods, which are result of centuries of development. And that teacher who developed it from generation to generation, they give you final result of all results which they develop. Then it works fast. So, if you try to meditate with Patanjali, you just sit to try to think, but then your body is creating a lot of sensation. You feel cold, you feel hot, you feel not comfortable because you feel pain somewhere in your body, or you are hungry, or you are thirsty, or you're sexy, or whatever you feel. Different signals are coming from your body, and because of this, these signals are just stored in your mind. So if you want to get Samadhi, first of all, you have to get rid of disturbing signals coming from your body. It is step number one. And with asanas and vinyasas, I set system which I developed. I spent for this 40 years of my teaching. I teach yoga already 40 years. I'm 59, and I teach from the age 19. That with signals which I derived, I perfected them for many years, doing experiments with my students like in the lab. All of them confirmed the result. That at the end, after good quality asana, they get complete balance of sensations on their bodies. And when your body doesn't send any disturbance signals to your mind, only what you need, you don't create symptoms to thinking about whatever. The body doesn't disturb you, and you should return attention from object to subject. Subject is observer inside of you. And don't pay any interest, any attention to this comparison coming falls to you.
Yeah.
And this is the way to reach Samadhi using third method. This is method based on the view control of your mind.
Andrey,
We can talk, not practice concept of Kundalini. Second method is based on Kundalini awakening. If you have Kundalini awakening, that is bringing huge pleasure, and you get ananda. Normal people living their life, they don't even understand what kind of pleasure it is. If you have bad sex in your life, multiply it in 100. You can say it's impossible. I can tell you possible. I experienced it myself. 100 times stronger than any best sex you have. So when you get that kind of crazy strong pleasure, you are becoming sensual, and all mental power is going to sensuality. Your mind stops thinking, and you experience that pleasure with your brain. And brain is thinking, but if you are becoming sensual with your brain, you stop thinking. This is ecstatic samadhi. And if you reach this, you don't need to use willpower to control action of thought. You are with no thoughts because you are in ecstasy, and you don't want to lose that state because you feel so good that nothing in your life has given you higher pleasure than that. So this is how it works, and based on this you get karma change. Because if you experience more powerful pleasure in your life than sex, than food, than laying on the beach under the sun from massage, you will interest for all of this, and you only have to repeat experience of ecstatic samadhi. So that is only highest pleasure you had, and it is liberating you from any karma you involve in your life. It is motivating you to do what you do. So this is how method of liberation from karma involvement is working. So you cannot avoid this, otherwise your liberation will never be final. What was your question?
Well, I have a second question now. Can you spontaneously go into that ecstatic samadhi any time?
When I was young, at the age 18, it happened with me spontaneously. That's why, and 3 years I had repetitions of this non-stop spontaneously.
How long do they last?
Myself, what kind of pranayama the bank has to do to activate this process. But as soon as it is activated, then you just have not disturb, but it goes itself. But now, after 24 years, I was practicing under Buddhist umbrella, and I became officially Lama. I keep to call me Lama. I understand now how to do it by order. What should I do? Because at the beginning of my retreat, and I did retreats in Hermitage 24 years, for half year every year. And when people ask me, like, did you reach more? I said, I reached same what I known from the age 18, but a little bit more. And then my teacher asked me, so you repeated so long, what did you get? I said, main what I got. At that time, such experience happened with me spontaneously. Now I can do it at any time. I feel myself good, bad, sick, not. I know how to reach it from any condition I have. So if you have years of experience working with this, you can become master of this process, and you can activate it from any condition which you have.
And is that the final goal of yoga?
Final goal of yoga is complete liberation.
On a more practical level, people are going to be wanting to know, give me a posture and explain how you teach that asana using the Marma points to awaken this kind of energetic feeling, like Paschimottanasana or a simple posture. How you would teach that differently to what we're doing in Ashtanga yoga, for example.
I prefer don't speak about separate asana, because separate asana will never give you final result. You have to speak about sequence, and of course vinyasa, because must be flow, must be link from asana to vinyasa, from asana to vinyasa, link with breath. That method will lead you to mind control. If you will do static separate asana, it's possible, but then it will be only meditation asana, but more asana.
Why is the vinyasa so important to you then?
Because when people Okay, I don't want to go for the next question because I didn't answer your previous question yet. I'm full of knowledge. That's why 1 hour is nothing. I can teach you like $6,000 with same intensity, giving you new information non-stop because I learn all my life. But I answer your previous question. So you don't need to think about one asana. In one asana, we understand which marmas will be activated, but one asana is usually like one letter of the word of the sentence. And sentence has a meaning. So one letter is not giving you any understanding of the meaning of the sentence. Sentence is sequence. Every word, it is actually asanas link with each other like letters with hooks. When you have sand writing, so that hooks are vinyasa. And when you pilot it, you have some gap in between, you sit, you breathe, you restore yourself. This is a little break between words. But sequence itself has specialization. You got to specialize it, developing tracing, developing strengthening, developing physical strength, developing dynamic strength. And I actually don't want to spend more time for this, but there are 16 dualities, what you can get practicing different specialized sequences of yoga. So this is like different specialized centers of what we can speak about. So if you are talking about balancing of your energy with asanas or stretching, then asanas must in one sequence cover in equal quantity all marmas of your body. So you should not do for one direction of mobility 10 asana and for another 1 asana. Otherwise, your energetic body will be disbalanced. So you have to target every direction of mobility of your body, doing same quantity of asana, but in progressive way. First asana for the same direction of mobility is warming up. Second, deeper warming up. Third, your maximum. Fourth, repetition of your maximum to over maximum. Or more. So this is how I build that sequence in this way. So that's why in one sequence we cover all directions of mobility, and we go through every direction of mobility from third warming up asanas, then deeper warming up asanas, then maximum asanas, then repetition of maximum asanas, targeting over maximum. Like for example, what is different compared to first sequence of Ashtanga Vinyasa? Most of the people who practice first sequence, they can say that they feel challenged in 5 asanas in the middle of the sequence. It is like 2 legs behind the head on the arm, Hidipasana, then maybe Kujapadasana, then lotus with the arms through and rolling on the back, and handstand, real pose, return handstand. So, all another are beginner asanas. Everybody can do them. And I can say one more, Vinyasa, this is challenging to jump through. So, but to return to this, people practice most of the sequence asanas which they can easily do, and they don't challenge other directions of mobility at all. Just to return to this 5 asanas. From my point of view, this is good sequence. I respect my teacher, Patabi Joyce, but I can do sequences better. I'm sorry. I learned much more. I can do sequences when in one sequence for every direction of mobility. You will work with warming up, deeper warming up, maximum, and more than maximum for every direction of mobility. Then you spend your time effectively for 2 directions. Then if you work on the strengthening level, why they do in the sequence of Ashtanga Vinyasa? Only 2 Vinyasa. Vinyasa belly down, Chaturanga upper and Krishna Chaturanga down, facing down, according to Himalayan Yoga classification. And Vinyasa jumping through, which is Vinyasa lean. It is also one of the 15 groups of Vinyasa. So why they do only 2 of this Vinyasa? Why don't, because we use same group muscles, we develop same strength of the same group muscles, and we don't develop another group muscle. Why don't we do, by the way, in first sequence of Ashtanga Vinyasa, there are 6 Vinyasa. So, why don't we do 6 Vinyasas and we don't repeat them 10 times? Why don't we do 10 Vinyasas and we repeat them 6 times? In this case, we will use different group muscles for our bodies, and our strengthening will be better balanced. It will be not narrow specialized, because all Ashtanga Vinyasa practitioners get tighter and strong. But what about other muscles of your body? Because Vinyasa belly down doesn't strengthen more, jumping through, it is also strengthening your abdominal very well. But what else? Do you strengthen your back very well? I don't think so. And I'm talking about balance. One of the meaning of the word yoga is bell. And I don't see this bell as a sequence of Patabi Vinyasa. I never speak about this with Patabi Jois of Sarad because they never teach. They never really answer questions. They just say, do and you will understand yourself. I understood. That's why I'm talking about what I'm. So, from my point of view, Patabi Vinyasa sequences are not bells on all levels. On the level of Vinyasa, on the levels of directions of producers, on the level of intensity, like you can set segment, and in your first segment, you have to let behind the back on the arm. Where did you see beginners who can do it? And why you propose for beginners to do this up? It is not really for any beginner to do two legs behind the head on the arm. Why the first segment? Must be some another sequences which are working with beginners.
Why do you think it was put there then? And they were referring to the lift up, the transition between Supta Kavasana, I believe.
But I don't want to answer for Patabi Jois because he never answer my questions and I don't want to guess. You know, nowadays I even don't care why. Maybe because he doesn't know all what I studied and learned myself. Maybe because he knows and he has his own ideas. I had no idea what he had in his mind at that time. He didn't answer my questions and I don't want to ask these questions anymore. I just know that Patabi Vinyasa practitioners, they don't know what they pray. They don't know that.
Brings me to my other question, which I'll repeat and rephrase to you, probably the same question. Where did you learn this additional information that you're bringing into universal yoga? Or did it come from you directly? Or is there a textual or school precedent, a particular school or text you're bringing?
Partly I learned, if we are talking about pranayama, Kundalini awakening, chakra, meditation, karma, I learned this from traditional Himalayan school. At the same time, based on my personal Kundalini awakening, I can say I woke up my internal supreme teacher who showed me all my channel, followed the rules, how it works, and this is my understanding of internal yoga technique. Based on this, I can teach my students and they get results based on this. Talking about Asana Vinyasa, I spent 40 years of my life in university education to develop methods. And I use traditional things which I studied from Iyengar, from Pattabhi Jois and other Asana teachers and Vinyasa teachers. But I went so far deep and higher that I don't see people around with whom I can speak equally. Now, not because I have ambition. No, I speak very humbly about myself. Just because I don't see any book about methodics of yoga. I see only people, they repeat same methods which they study from Iyengar, they represent them in 10 or 20 same books. So, people study from Pattabhi Jois, same first and second sequence, and they produce different books about this two sequences. Do they realize what they do? Yet they produce anything themselves? No, nothing. So that's why I can teach methods of yoga sequence creation, yoga substyles, modifications, scientifically. If you want to say, I have not brown skin, and I'm not Indian, I cannot know yoga as Indian people, but they are Indian people because they have brown skin, they for sure know yoga better than me, then I'm sorry, I want to tell you a racist guy who think like that. I see many racists around. But if I dedicated my life, 40 years, and university scientific education to research yoga, who nobody did in the world, and again, have the result of this, you have to be speaker, don't expect. And don't listen to what I say.
Well, where else are you teaching? I mean, and how can we find students that will give us feedback of this method?
Okay, what I see, I actually want to have special broadcast to speak about different cultural paths of yoga in the world and how it came to profanation. It will be super interesting. I will show you step by step how it happened in the world. But talking about US, I was never in Australia, I'm sorry, but talking about US, people in US think in brand way. If some brand is famous, everybody like crazy line into the some brand is famous, everybody more goes there. If another brand is becoming famous, everybody running there. But most knowledgeable teachers in India are not well known. They are very small. Like they are not going anywhere. They don't want people know about them. So I spent 20 years of my life teaching in USA, but I don't see in USA people want to become knowledgeable teachers because I had many students, but they finally drift to teach this nonsense which the majority of yoga studios people teach, like not effective, whatever, how you will call it. So There are students of mine in USA, in Europe, many are in Ukraine and Russia, a lot are in China, but in China I invested only 9 years of my life. Now, in China, most of the people in China practice universal yoga now, not Ashtanga, Iyengar yoga. Because they understood, they hate religion, they want scientific. I explained scientific, they understood the practice now. That's why I mainly teach in Asia now.
Anything else you could say to kind of further explain universal yoga to people that want to give it a try?
February 8th, I will start my program in Atlanta. I teach around the world, starting from 96. But teacher training from 96 only. I believe I accumulated maximum experience of teaching teacher training because I have per year about 16, 20 trainings per year. During last 29 years. So I don't see other teachers who accumulate the same teaching experience as me. So that's why it's one of the best quality.
I mean, it's a high. There's definitely a high aim that they come out and they're not getting a teaching certificate, but they're qualifying with getting Samadhi. Do all practitioners that come with the teacher training get that?
You know, this is an individual question because Samadhi depends on what is in your mind before you come. You have a lot of samskaras in your mind. That's why I give to all people equal methodic with very good quality explanation. But it's the same when you teach children to understand how to read. History can represent for a group of children same information, but some children understood, some children will understood partially, and some children will not understand at all. It depends on whom. It depends on their karma. So I give chance and very good methods to everybody, but it depends on people, what is in their mind, because many people don't take yoga seriously. They come to my program out of curiosity, but then for them, their families, their children, making money is more important. I especially don't have children. I especially don't have family in my life because I need to be free, to be yogi, to go deeply in yoga, to do practice of yoga in hermitage. I have to be free. People who have already heavy karma, I can give them to practice good methodic, effective methodic, but they will never dedicate enough time because they're busy.
Does it need a lot of time? Do you need many hours a day to practice this, what you're teaching?
Okay, think about this. During the day, 24 hours. And during 24 hours, you read meditation, let's say you read Samadhi for 10 minutes. So on the scale of karma, what is better, 10 minutes or 23 hours, 60 minutes? Of course, 23 hours, 60 minutes. So if you repeat during your daytime some mantra 10 minutes and you reach some state of your mind for 10 minutes, and then most of your day, of your time of your day, most of your life, you are not with yogic mind living your life, these samskaras you accumulate. You accumulate samskaras as a regular human being. That's why they will always like an anchor on the bottom for the ship. They will always stop you. So you can do your best, and all people practicing yoga do their best, but involving in hard work, in your everyday duties, and because of lack of time for practice, is a real serious problem why people don't get results.
Okay, so just to wrap up the interview then, would you mind just giving a rough idea, how your day works in terms of practice and your lifestyle, just to finish off?
But because I constantly teach teacher training, I have to be squeezed by that schedule which people want. First of all, I believe the standards of yoga alliance are extremely poor. To become a yoga teacher during 200 hours, it is nonsense. It is super underground, low level. Because I believe to become a good yoga teacher, you must get education equal to institute for high education of university. So you must, and if you get high education, you study 5, 6, 7 years, and you spend for that in the middle 6,000 hours. So I believe to become good yoga teacher, you need to spend 6,000 hours learning methods and practice. So, but yoga lines set up these rules because they want to have a lot of members, and to create members fast, they need to create very low grade. That's why 200 hours. But people also don't want even to spend 200 hours. They want to get the minimum time, maximum level of qualification. That's why they want to run this. Some students propose for me to run 100 hours during 9 days. Some teachers run 9 days, and every day they teach less than, during 100 hours, they in reality teach 70 hours. So break even agreement with Yoga Alliance. I never do like this. Or they, part of the program, they drink tea, or they don't do exams at the end. Then you don't get qualification, but there is no qualification scale. So I don't believe in any of this nonsense. That's why they have such a low level yoga teaching around the world. Only I can say Ashtangis, from my point of view, have more or less good level of practice because it is only one school which has dedication. But according to official statistics of Yoga Alliance, only 1% of people in USA practice Ashtanga Vinyasa. 9 are practicing some crap in majority cases. I don't want to say about everybody. And when I teach programs, when I switch like this, I have to teach per day 10 hours, and then at the same time,
no breaks.
And there are questions of people. I don't have much time left for myself. That's why when I talk like this, I'm trying in the morning to do asana vinyasa practice, and at the evening to do pranayama and meditation. But I don't try to practice Kundalini awakening when I teach, because Kundalini practice is taken many hours and in non-stop, because it is stages of development, of transformation of your nervous system inside of you. So when I do Kundalini awakening practice, that one practice is taken from 16 to 22 hours. I don't sleep at all for many days at all when I practice. So that's why I divided my life in 2 parts. I told you what I do when I teach, but I do it part of the year. And then another part of the year, I disappear. I go to Himalayas and I stay there and I do only practice. I don't teach at all. I don't stay in touch with any people. Just practice. Then I practice every day. Asana Vinyasa maybe 3 hours every day. But then internal practice, as I mentioned to you, like 16, 20 hours is what I like to do per day. And I do this non-stop like half year every day. It let me go very deeply into the results and understanding of methods and practice. So it let you, every such practice is transforming you inside. And even after that, if you don't do this level practice, it changes you and it gives peace from that point, from that place. So last years, my mother became very old. She is 83 years old. Because of this, my time became limited last year because I cannot spend so much time without visiting her. She needs my help now. That's why now I cannot be in Himalayas that long as I wish. Because I have to return always to home and take care about her, go to hospital, just help her to leave. I just need my presence to leave.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of results already, so I think you can hold off a little while and
because I wanted to talk about particular methods of enlightenment, particular methods of reaching Samadhi, we need separate podcast. And I can absolutely give you what kind of practice, give what kind of type of Samadhi. And if you want to know exactly method for enlightenment based on time, it can be separate podcast. If people will have interest, they can write to you if they have questions. And based on this, maybe we will do it.
There you go, guys. That's your invite. Ask away. Ask some questions to Andrey in the comments, and we will schedule another podcast if you fancy learning about methodologies of enlightenment. I haven't got any further comments to that because having not been there, I can't really speak further about it. But I want to say thank you, Andrey, for being a very, very lively and enjoyable interview, and certainly more food for thought than often. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. And even if practice what type of yoga you practice, I wish to all of you success, happiness, and peace, because all yogis are brothers and sisters, no matter what we practice. Peace and happiness to all of you.
Thank you, Andrey. Thank you. Lovely.